welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Tim.
And I'm Bradley Rose, otherwise known online as Bradley Rose.
We got one of the OGs back on the pod this week, but not to talk about Magic, but to talk about Dragon Ball. Our power levels are rising.
Yeah.
They're aliens. I'm finding out I'm an alien.
Right? Yeah.
I meet my brother from space who kidnaps my child.
Then says there's more
I'm
coming.
going through a lot. All my former rivals are all now my best friends.
Yeah, they can help go and set up for when I recover from my inevitable inconvenience.
Yeah. I like to arrive fashionably late to every fight.
Yeah.
Either because I have a heart virus or because I have to fight my way out of hell, or just because I decide to land on a planet, learn how to instant transmission. We're talking about Dragon Ball Z anime. This game was like early 2000s, is that right?
Exactly the year 2000 it
Year
comes out.
2000. Would this have been right during DBZ fever? When did that actually make landfall in the US?
Yeah, Toonami on Cartoon Network was playing Dragon Ball Z. So you've got this generation of I mean, also probably also in combination with peeps that have any DBZ or Dragon Ball like VHS tapes imports or whichever, but also in combination with those who grew up with watching their anime on Toonami. And yeah, DBZ would be one of them.
VHS tapes were rough for anime. You get like 4 episodes or something, and it costs like $15. It's like, oh man, I need to watch 100 of these episodes. What am I gonna?
Dial-up internet was the thing, so
Yeah.
information about like how long is it maybe isn't something that's easily accessible. Maybe you're in it for whatever saga you're in. Like, oh, who's this Cell guy? I'm just gonna get this tape of when Cell
Oh, you could
absorbed
just get
Android
the Cell
17.
tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I remember in high school, I had friends that would basically exchange fan subbed VHS tapes online. Like
Wow.
the most cost effective way for my friend to watch Fushigi Yugi was to arrange to trade her VHS tapes of Ranma to someone in Idaho. And then hopefully they would come back, and they had a whole rating system for the quality because you'd make a copy of the tape once you got it. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
VHS, man. And this was
Yeah.
a American game, is that right?
Yeah, this property is Japanese, but it was only released in English. Yeah, so it wasn't released in Japan.
Let's use screenshots from the anime, hundreds of screenshots from the anime, and then let's just do our own game design. Let's just make up a game. It's the 90s. Like we got to make as many card games as we can. That was the market. But they struck gold. You still love this game.
Oh yeah, played this during high school. I stopped playing it when I got into kind of the college era, and it kind of also dropped off. It went through every saga from like Saiyan Saga till Kid Buu Saga, and it ended on purpose because there was the Dragon Ball GT game that they came out with.
Oh.
Of which I learned that the company purposely was like maybe producer exec or whatever it is, don't make more of like the Z system. Make it different, and then we're gonna retire Z. So unfortunately, whatever those motivations are, it made it so that you can't have more cards. But they did make it through all the entirety of the Z story.
Oh, okay. So they kind of followed like 30 episodes worth of, I don't know, 50 episodes worth of content. That's a set. 50 more episodes. That's a set, or whatever the story cutoffs would be.
Yeah, right.
Is there a card for Piccolo learning to drive?
There is a card. There is a card with art of Piccolo in his Post Boy shirt with the backwards cap racing against Goku in the driving episode.
All right.
So we made sure to hit that cultural milestone in the Dragon Ball Z fandom.
This is a design crossover episode, so the idea here is that you're going to be teaching me the mechanics of this game. I've never played this game. But then our other sort of purpose here is like we're maybe learning the game a little bit, but also let's learn these individual mechanics and what can we steal from Magic the Gathering. We want to make our own custom Magic cards. What cool things have they done in other card games and other board games that Magic hasn't done yet, or that Magic could do more, or that Magic could do differently?
Let's see what we can go and discover together.
And you've played this recently as well.
Oh, true. Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. When I said I played this in high school, I also currently play this right now. There's a Discord community I found that I'm playing with, so that's nice to help play some games
Mm.
over webcam.
Over webcam. Wow. That's
Yeah, yeah,
dedicated.
I know. But there's also you can play on Octagon. But
Oh,
I the
Octagon.
main yeah, it's sort of your cockatrice or your Magic
Oh,
Workstation
okay, okay.
type of thing. But the main thing is to play over webcam, is to retain that sense of like holding the cards physically and playing
Mm.
across from your opponent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Recapture the magic or recapture the DBZ TCG.
There we go. All right. So what's like one of our first like mechanics or cards or whatever that we can get into here?
First thing is you choose a character which is called a personality in the game
Hmm.
that you're fighting as. It's like your commander.
Hmm. Okay.
So you may choose Goku, Gohan, Piccolo, or Cell, or Android 16. These are all characters you can choose as your main personality. Your life is your deck. If you run out of cards in your deck, you're dead.
Hmm.
In this game, yet you're
Yeah.
physically fighting or using your key. And when you hit each other, say doing a certain amount of damage, you take that off the top of your deck into your discard
Mhm.
pile. So it's like milling.
Are cards interacting with the graveyard then? Like I'm gonna pull cards out of my graveyard.
There are cards that you can get out of
Yeah.
your discard pile, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's mostly good to be milling our opponents. It's mostly good to be damaging them, but it might backfire a little bit.
Maybe the meta has some decks that like to pull a lot of cards out of the discard pile a lot,
Hmm.
or if you just like to play a decently good attack that also has attached to it an effect that besides doing an attack or something, it also like removes from the game cards in their discard pile just to make sure to kind of nip that in the bud.
Oh, there's like sort of exile as well.
Yeah, yeah, you can
Oh,
remove
okay.
cards. Yeah, you can exile.
How big is a deck?
A deck is 85 cards
Oh,
total,
okay.
or 90 if you are Namekian.
Yep. All right. Because they can regenerate or something?
Yeah, yeah, that is totally their style. So
Hmm.
now we're getting into another aspect. This is like Magic. There are six styles, fighting styles.
Oh,
So four of them are colors. So you got orange, and you got black, and red, and blue. And then you
okay.
have a sand style, and you have a Namekian style. What that means is that you can only pick one of these styles. Can't do like in Magic where you might play
Hmm.
a green black deck. You call it declaring a Tokubiwaza. It's very flavor driven. Some of the things that were thought to be cool to include were like then made like kind of worked around to make sure to include it. Like the power levels, like the power rating, when he's like, oh, his power level's over 9,000, right?
Hmm.
That was worked into the game. I would say unnecessarily.
All right, all right. So we've got
Yeah,
these six styles or colors. Are they styles? Is that what you said?
styles.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because Waza, yeah. Are some cards double color? Are some characters double color?
there's colorless cards,
Oh, okay.
style like they call them freestyle.
Hmm.
So there's freestyle
That's
cards.
cool.
There's no double styled.
Huh.
But that might have been a mechanic that might have happened if the game kept going as it is. Yeah,
Hmm. Well, it's funny because when you said this, like, what was it? Orange, black, blue, and
red. Yeah.
red. Okay. And then the Saiyan style, a lot of the main characters are Saiyan. Are the other four just like all the different kinds of humans, I guess?
Oh, yeah. Great question. So if you play as, say, Vegeta,
Yeah.
Vegeta is able to declare Saiyan style, and you can play with Saiyan cards. But Vegeta can also declare black style, red style, blue style, orange style.
Whoa, what?
Vegeta cannot declare Namekian style.
Oh, so most characters you can build a mono blue deck, a mono red deck off of the same commander, basically.
Every character, every main personality you pick can do has access to at least four styles.
So we've got these four fighting styles, Tokuiwaza, um, and sometimes there's well, yeah, there's one or two other styles. Do all of them get played? Is this a thing where like there are, at least like 5 or 10% of people playing each of the colors?
There are styles that are more
Mhm.
played than other ones.
Yeah, for sure.
Something to know is that in this game, there are no like mana costs equivalent.
Mm. Okay.
You have the card in your hand, and you can just play it, and most
Mm.
cards don't say as an additional cost. In addition to your character, you have when you declare a Tokuiwaza, besides locking you lock yourself into your style. Besides benefiting from the cards that say if you declared a Tokuiwaza, you also have access to a mastery. And the
Oh.
mastery is sort of like in Magic when you have choose your background. It attaches as another one to your character.
Mm.
It's like a constant static enchantment effect
Mm.
and you might build your deck. Usually, build your deck around it. And one of the most popular styles masteries is the black style mastery from Trunk Saga, which gives all your attacks just like an increase in damage.
Mm.
It's sort of like this is the bar to me. Like if you're playing a different style of mastery, like if they have these weird other effects, are you still when you build the deck around those, are you still
Mhm.
outputting the same rate as a black style deck that just doing 2 extra damage each attack?
It's probably also sort of a balance tool. Hey, we don't have a huge team. We need to release 10 sets. We need a way to keep them in check. Okay, well, you've got your base characters, which we can't really change, but
Yeah.
we have the ability to release a mastery that like buffs up orange cards because orange cards have been stinking. And then we're going to print some cool orange cards in this new set, and that'll like revitalize that color for a year or two.
Yeah, yeah. Orange is a good example because it's like every other set, they release
Hmm.
starter decks and new
Oh, okay.
masteries
Yeah.
because most decks do declare a Tokuwaza. It's sort of like playing how many commander decks do you see are playing colorless as their
Yeah.
color
Yeah.
identity?
Yeah.
That's sort of how rare it is to find a freestyle deck.
It
Yeah.
This is I would not have ever guessed that like the colors, like 2 of them are named, 4 of them are colors. Do those colors like mean really specific things to you? Like if you know, oh, I'm going against a red deck, like that's going to be a totally different game from an orange deck. What's like a sketch of how what differentiates the colors?
Yeah, there is like sort of a color pie, especially if you're looking at the masters as well. So red is a good one to choose. There is a big mechanic in this game called anger.
Okay.
I guess people be screaming a lot in the
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
And red is the king of anger.
Hmm.
And one of the masteries is just all in on that. It's like, hey, I'm only going to help you gain even more anger. So you can tell what you're coming up
Okay.
against. Saiyan tends to draw lots of cards,
Oh,
so you
interesting.
might get hit a lot. Namekian tends to rejuvenate a lot of cards. They regenerate, so they'll put cards from discard pile back into the life deck. Blue is good at lowering anger. So I guess
Oh,
if you're
okay.
playing blue, if you go up against red anger, you're like, haha, that's good for me.
Hmm. Oh, you calm your opponent down. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can calm them down. Yeah.
Bro, be chill.
Yeah.
It's interesting that they needed this much differentiating between them when we also have the characters themselves. So, like, I've got these different styles. They have, like, maybe it's closer to Hearthstone. If you go against a warrior, you know that they have a bunch of shield block stuff and a bunch of weapons or whatever.
Yeah.
The base game mechanics are shared by everybody, but what they're good at is going to be different. I would have thought, hey, Master Roshi, he can pick these 2 colors. Like, I would have thought it would be more restricted and not quite as open. Do you have a sense of why they left it quite that open? Like, most characters can play most colors.
I don't know. I feel like it's refreshing that I can choose so many different styles with my favorite character, and I
Hmm.
don't know if that is a motivator
Interesting.
of like I want to play Goku, but I want to try out different ways to play Goku.
If you like Goku the most, you can still use almost your entire collection of attack cards.
Yeah. Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah. So you
yeah.
could be chill Goku, who's going to calm down people and befriend them. You can be mad Goku, who is sad about Krillin dying.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so we've got like 85 or 90 cards in the deck. We're going to be making attacks. The abilities, I'm guessing, on these commanders are like when you play this kind of attack, draw a card, like kind of typical commander abilities or enchantments and magic.
Exactly, yeah. There's a mixture of the equivalent of static abilities, triggered abilities, and activated abilities. Yeah.
I've got a 80 life, which is a lot more than 20 in magic. Does that mean that like these attacks are sometimes dealing like 10 damage or 20 damage for some big attack?
A standard energy attack. Actually, they define it in the rules sort of like if it
Oh.
says energy attack and it doesn't say how much it does 4 damage.
Hmm, okay.
4 life
So,
cards of
so
damage.
sort of 1 damage in magic terms.
Yeah, but like when the games started with Saiyan Saga, and then over time there's been like power creep or just power balancing over time.
You say that if there was ever a game that should have power creep, it's a game that follows Dragon Ball chronologically.
Yeah, you're right. You're
The early
right.
cards should be trash compared to the later cards.
Yeah, going Super Saiyan, old news. Yeah, we have Super
Yeah,
Saiyan 3 now. Yeah.
yeah, we have Super
Uh,
Saiyan 3.
yeah, yeah. A good amount of damage by the time it gets to the end of the game is usually like 6 or so, like 6 with an effect.
All right, all right. I guess like before we get into more specific mechanics, one of the main reasons that lots of milling can be tricky in a magic environment is if there are relevant cards in the graveyards, now I have to look at this whole stack that my opponent has. What are the 14 cards in your graveyard? And oh, two of them are relevant. I better remember that.
Yeah.
Do you run into that sort of thing with Dragon Ball as well?
Oh, man, all the time. If you're trying to anticipate your opponent maybe playing this one card that you know that they would be running in their deck,
Yeah.
what you would do is halfway through the game or so, or maybe, yeah, you would go, hey, how many of this card do you have? Especially when we're playing over webcam. When
Mm,
we're playing over webcam, we have to have them pick up the discard pile, fan through it.
yeah.
Yeah, so if it were in person, you can just pick up their discard pile and get a sense of what they might have left.
Interesting. And it's an especially large library too. So maybe it's,
Yeah,
even if it
yeah.
wasn't that big a problem, it's still just a large number of cards.
There's a higher than Magic amount of cards that say that they remove themselves from the game after they're used. I guess
Oh,
precisely because the discard pile often can become a second hand.
yeah. A lot of magic answers to graveyards are like every turn I get to zap a card from a graveyard or just blow away the whole graveyard. But if instead, like, there are just like most burn spells, most like counter spells are also eating a little bit of graveyard as well. That would keep the graveyard under control. So there's only a couple things in there at a time. And that could
Yeah,
also convey that, like, even if you are a tough person who can regenerate, who can, like, get some of those cards back, some of those cards never come back. And so at some point, this fight is going to end, which is also pretty thematic for DBZ. Like, people get beat up and knocked out, and then they get back up, and then they fight some more. Or they eat a Senzu bean, which is like a healing potion.
oh yeah.
Do you think using the library as your life total adds a lot to the game? Do you think if you played a magic format where that was also true and there were cards built towards that, do you think that would be a promising thing to do?
I don't think that's a key part of the DBZ card game, I think.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think if we were just trying to do a total damage over time, and maybe you started at a 100 life, every time you
Hmm.
take a turn, you actually draw 3 cards. So that's already like 3 life off. But
Hmm. How thematic is it that if I deal early damage to the opponent, I also get to learn some things about their deck? Is that a cool thing? Is that something that is a value add to this method?
it's only I would say circumstantial like behavior that happens from the life
Right.
deck. It
Right.
is something to note, but I don't think it would be part of what feels like to Dragon Ball. They're like, I hit you, and now I understand.
Yeah. That would be more like once you use something on me, now I have adapted. If there was some way to represent that, that would be very thematic. But yeah, just
Yeah.
like they're not like psychics. They're maybe the opposite of that. They're extra stupid.
Right.
Dragon Ball
Yeah, yeah,
characters.
yeah. Every time you hit someone, you touch them for a short moment, you get a little memory of their past life.
Yeah, that yeah. Yeah, if you needed that flavor, that's like Demir or something in Magic, like
Yeah,
psychic invasion.
there you go.
scouting out. Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like I understand this deck stuff. Are there multiple? There's probably multiples in decks, like three ofs or four ofs, like copies of cards.
Yeah, the standard is limit 3.
Oh, okay.
There is a rule that says if you are playing a named card, for example, Trunks Sword Slice, if you are Trunks, you can play
Hmm.
4 of them.
Oh,
Yeah,
I kind of love that. I'm a fan.
yeah, it's a little flavorful boost.
So other people can play Trunks Sword Slice just because it's a card game. People get to combine cards together.
Yeah, it's a freestyle. Oh, yeah, so if it is a styled card, it actually puts in the title. You don't just go off of, like, cardboard or and there's no mana cost, right? So it would say, like, red overbearing attack, and then you know that's a red card.
It says in the title of the card.
Yep. So it does eat up it does eat up card space at the top, yeah.
I'm going to cast blue tap a creature. That's the name of my card.
Yeah, here's one
Yeah.
that's real. Saiyan Acute Rapid Slam.
Oh, okay. And do you
Yeah.
usually say the color as you're playing it, or you just skip that when you're playing?
For example, Black Buffer Block is an often used card, and Buffer Block is the only title that there's no like blue Buffer Block or something.
Hmm.
So people would know, they go, hey, I'm gonna play Buffer Block.
I guess we'll get into it. But are there like other type lines? I guess there must be that kind of stuff somewhere.
There's physical combat cards and energy combat cards. Those are the sort of the meat and potatoes. And then there's a non-combat is a type line, but
Hmm.
there is a mechanically distinct type of non-combat called a drill, and you would know that because it says drill in the title. Ones that say drill are like enchantments that stick around that always do a static effect, and then ones that don't say drill, when they're like you play them out, it's sort of like an artifact that sacrifices itself. You can use it at some point, and they usually
Oh,
represent events.
a drill sticks around for a while. Another one, the regular non-combat card, you play and then maybe use right away, or maybe save for later, but it's in play.
Yeah. Another type line is Dragon Ball.
Oh, thematically, my understanding of the Dragon Balls are each of them individually are just kind of cool looking, but they don't have any individual power.
Yeah.
But when you have all seven of them, you get to make a wish, and then that's like gigantic. Bring back all of my friends who died. They're
Yeah.
humongous effects.
Yeah, like in the Dragon Ball fighting game video games, you're able to incidentally collect 7 and then make like you have a split second Shenron wish or whatever to get a
Hmm.
big effect.
Yeah, yeah.
In this game, if you're playing with Dragon Balls, you can have up to 7 individual cards in your deck that represent each of the starred Dragon Balls.
Oh, yeah, because they all look a little different. Yeah.
Yeah, and the goal is to have all 7 of them out in play,
Hmm.
and then but rather than them just being duds and then you just put them out and like, look, I have it. They do effects when you play it.
Oh, okay.
One catch about it is these the effects are tend to be kind of strong or good.
Yeah.
Is that your opponent can actually steal them from you? You can steal from
Oh,
each other.
I
Yeah,
like this. So they're kind of like trinkety artifacts almost.
yeah, yeah. Like one says, when you play it, you can draw 3 cards
Oh,
to remind when you take a turn. You start with 3, you
oh,
draw
you get
3, so it's sort of
oh,
like
okay.
a draw an extra card.
Yeah, yeah. So if your opponent steals that, do they then trigger that draw right away, or they're just holding on to the
They
ball?
do,
Oh, okay.
yeah. It's a right away. So yeah, it happens when you play it from your hand to into play, or if you steal the Dragon Ball, you get the effect. Yeah.
Oh, okay. This feels really promising. This is like a deep vein here.
Yeah.
Like by integrating something to fight over in the game, more than just life total and more than just like card advantage, like you would in Magic. You've
Yeah.
got cards that you are incentivized to put in your deck, but that also can be interacted with, like, and not just removed, which is a big thing in Magic. Like most of the, like how I play Planeswalker. A Planeswalker is like a cool thing that can be interacted with, and that's part of what's cool about Planeswalkers over enchantments. But they could just be killed. By defeating them, you don't gain control of them. I
Ah,
don't quite know how it plays out yet, but this does feel like something that would be interesting to have, like in multiplayer one-on-one, something in Magic where I'd want to have like cards that I want to play with that I would like to collect a lot of. And part of what makes it possible to collect a lot of them is that both of us are incentivized to play them. So more of them will exist. I don't have to draw my whole deck to get all 7. I could
Yeah.
draw half my deck to get half of them. You could draw half your deck and get half of them. And then we could either fight over life total or we could fight over control of these MacGuffins.
The MacGuffins, yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
what Magic's equivalent of, like, Marvel's Infinity Stones, but it's the
Yeah.
same kinda thing. You're
Yeah.
trying to get all of them together. But that sounds like a format that could happen in Magic.
That feels like on the level of like a conspiracy or something. Hey, this format has this extra card type in it, and other cards in this format are going to reference that card type. And it's going to be like fun to, you could just try to kill people, or you can try to like steal all the stuff, or amass like
Yeah.
maybe once you just pass a threshold, maybe it doesn't have to be exactly 7. But if you control 5 of them, then blah, blah, blah happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Conspiracy, battle bond.
Maybe this is Battle Bond. You're fighting over like balls or hockey pucks or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Get a little more sports into Battle Bond. We still have to do our Battle Bond up. I have a pack of Battle Bond right in front of me right now. It's
yeah.
ready for it.
That sounds great.
Are there any other types?
Yeah, so there's battlegrounds and locations.
Okay.
If you play the Pokemon card game, they're like stadiums. Whoever plays a battleground or location, it affects both players equally. So one is Kami's Floating Island. It says when entering combat, draw a card. Both players would do that. They would just both get an extra card.
Kind of a howling mine.
Yeah, yeah, like a Howling Mine. And what happens is if someone else plays, or even if you decide to later, plays a different battleground slash location, that would replace the one that's in play. If you're afraid of certain battlegrounds locations, you might still run some of them on your own because
Hmm.
they work as removal on their own as of the same type.
Yeah. I've kind of gotten back and forth on the like in Magic they had world enchantments, or I guess the other way would be like the legendary rule. It used to be that if you played your own copy of this legend, it would kill theirs or kill both of them.
Yeah.
I've kind of gone back and forth as to what the potential of that is because it feels like the effects have to be like quite strong to be worth playing, and then the swing from like negating your opponent's super synergistic location and also my location coming online just feels gigantic. I don't know.
It can be gigantic, yeah.
Though on the other hand, it is nice to have built-in answers to things on the battlefield, built-in ways to interact. It's kind of like making these things not quite a split card, but it's sort of saying not only is my location a good thing in my deck because I put it in my deck, but it also helps me keep under control. I wait for my opponent to play their good location if I can, so that I can then, kind of almost 2 for 1.
Yeah. Yeah. Like in Magic, you gotta like think, especially when when you're doing best of three or not. You're like, do I do artifact or enchantment removal? I don't
Yeah.
know. I haven't seen my opponent's deck.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if
That
your artifacts and enchantments could be removal itself.
or like starter decks, draft decks, like those are places where it's tough to get ways to interact with artifacts and enchantments. I've been playing a bunch of the starter decks on Arena just to get a sense of what their onboarding's like. And it's like 75% plus creatures. Like there aren't that many even instances of sorceries, and there also are very few artifacts and enchantments.
Yeah.
If some of the decks are half artifacts, I kind of also need to put artifact removal in the other 9 decks. And that's kind of a burden design and deck composition wise. So locations
Yeah.
answering themselves is kind of nice in that way.
Yeah. The game releases content kind of assuming that you would be collecting cards from all of the sets over time, sort of like a
Mm,
living card game
yeah.
without actually being forcing into that. Because yeah, they would go and release very like kind of big mechanical changes
Mm,
at certain sets over time. Like Battlegrounds locations were like, oh, this is new to Android Saga now. Hey, we suddenly have this new type. And later on, even like towards the latter half of the game, there was a big change with this last card type I haven't mentioned,
mm.
the Sensei.
Oh,
Another flavorful lean in with this Tokubo Waza and Sensei.
did they say Tokuiwaza on the cards?
They do.
That is crazy to me.
Yeah. They say this. They go. If you declared a Tokuiwaza, gain 2 anchor.
That's insane. How did they like go so literal on all the other cards? Like we're gonna name the color in the in the card name,
Yeah,
but we're not gonna localize Tokui Waza. Tokui Waza, like Tokui special Waza technique, it's just I think like a martial arts thing. Like what kind of thing does this person like to
yeah.
do?
It's
Uh,
a bit of a flavor. Like they're just trying to
yeah,
hold on to certain flavor concepts.
maybe that's part of the branding. Here's what's cool about our game. We have this
Yeah,
cool concept that makes you feel like a ninja or like a martial artist.
yeah, yeah,
Anyhow, that was a tangent. We talked
yeah.
about
So we got
sensei.
our sensei.
Yeah.
They start in play just like your mastery and
Oh,
your main
okay.
character. Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
It's that much of a big change. So the sensei comes with a sensei deck.
Hmm. Well, all right, all right, all right,
This
all right.
is now effectively your sideboard. So what you'll do is you'll present your character, your mastery, and then your sensei, and each of you can look at that. Then you shuffle up your deck, and then you look at your sensei deck, and you choose some sideboard cards. But when you choose those,
Mm.
you take off the top that number of random cards from your life deck, and you put that into the sensei deck. So there's a chance you lose out on some maybe
Oh,
good
you.
cards in
Uh,
exchange for you then putting those sensei cards, let's say 3 of them, and you shuffle those into your life deck after you do that
huh.
swap.
That's an interesting sideboard style. You can
Yeah.
bring in whatever you want, but then the things you lose, you don't have control over.
Yeah, a
Is
big
that
thing would
fair?
be,
Yeah.
is if you're playing a Dragon Ball deck, you need all 7. So when
Mm,
you're senseiing, you would actually just maybe not want to, do senseiing like that.
funny. Huh.
But what it led to was this little kind of weird trick. They all have sensei deck sizes because of the
Okay.
senseis also provide a little static ability as well.
Oh, okay.
So what you would do is you would run a sensei with the sensei deck size that's high enough that you just put your Dragon Balls in the sensei deck.
So you bring in your 7 Dragon Balls and your 3 silver bullets.
Yeah,
There's some room sideboarding in, like, a standard tournament or modern tournament or whatever, that's healthy, but I feel like most players I interact with in, like, draft, like, if I'm drafting at someone's house, people don't generally enjoy sideboarding because you have to, like, look through a lot of cards, and what you take out is maybe even more annoying. So some twist on there feels like it has some potential. I guess the struggle you'd have in Magic is if you're taking out random cards, you might like randomly take out 5 of your lands, and now you've kind of hosed your deck accidentally.
that's true. Yeah.
But if it weren't for that, I feel like some like, hey, bring in these cards and take out some random cards is kind of appealing. That's what all I want to do is make the executive decision. I need to bring in my 7 anti elf cards. I don't want to make all the follow up decisions. What 7 cards do I want to take out of the deck?
Yeah.
A lot of casual players, they just want to have the feeling of like, oh, I have the plan for this. I can handle an anger deck. I can handle a calm emotions deck or whatever. I just need to bring in these 7 cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Maybe digitally or something.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's going to remove non-land cards from your deck in exchange for the non-land cards you bring in. Or if you bring in lands, it'll take out lands. Something like that.
Yeah. So you don't have to do the awkward thing of like maybe you keep flipping from the top until you get,
Yeah.
say you cite in 3, you get 3
Yeah.
non-lands.
Yeah. Or maybe like something from your opening hand. Maybe instead of doing it from your deck,
Ooh.
like kind of like a companion or something where I'm able to swap out a card from my starting hand or 2 cards from my starting hand for a thing.
Yeah, you start with 7 in Magic, right? And then you go start with 5 instead, and you have 2 more
Hmm.
shuffled in sideboard cards.
Yeah, yeah, something like that.
Is
Yeah.
that worth? That's kind of weird numbers wise. Like statistically, you won't draw your sideboard cards if you do that, but
Yeah, yeah.
huh.
Huh.
Now this is just going towards that same like conspiracy battle bond format. If
Yeah.
you do those like 5 or whatever it is things, maybe those effects, those trinket effects they do when you play out one is you can get something from the sideboard in your
Hmm.
hand. So
Okay.
it's still appealing to play even just one of them
Hmm.
if you're not trying to go for all of them as a victory.
Yeah, and then they can also like narrow down what you get at it. Like just as like a basic draft, like there's a Dragon Ball for creatures, there's a Dragon Ball for instants, a Dragon Ball for
Yeah.
sorcerers, or a Dragon Ball for red cards, or a
Ooh.
yeah.
Oh, and then it's sort of we have wishes and magic. That's right. And you
Yeah.
get them from the sideboard.
I
Ah,
guess Dragon Balls are like wishes, but
wish orbs. Yeah, that's great.
um all right, so we've got these two kind of attack types, physical, what was it, physical and energy, is that right?
Yeah, physical
Yeah,
combat,
physical and
energy
energy
combat.
attacks.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
combat.
physical attack, energy attack.
And then we've got combat, just combat tricks or whatever. We've
Yeah.
got the non-combat cards, which are either like one shot artifacts or seals, I guess, like the seal cards in Magic, or kind of ongoing drills. We've got our locations, we've got senseis, we got Dragon Balls.
Yeah.
All right. So I feel like I have a sense for the kinds of cards that there are, but maybe now it's time to like get a sense of what a turn is like, and then maybe we'll finish up by just like reading a bunch of cards and like getting a sense of what the different effects are.
Yeah. So to take a turn, you draw 3 cards. From there, you sort of have like a main phase. You can play non-combat cards, Dragon Balls, allies, and battlegrounds and locations.
So you're playing like one of those a turn ish.
Oh yeah, there is a limit. So
Oh,
you can play as many Dragon Balls and as many non-combats and many allies as you
okay.
can. But for battlegrounds and locations, you only play one per
Ah,
turn.
okay.
It also impacts your ability to do the next part, which is after you power up. This is a power up step,
Ooh,
but
okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we like draw some cards. Yeah, we draw some cards. We
Depending on your main character's PUR is the shorthand for power up rating. Most of them have 10 power stages. So as you
wow.
take physical attacks, you like lose maybe like 3 to 5 or more
Hmm.
power stages from each hit you take. And then after you get down to 0, then you start taking life cards of damage from physical attacks. But yeah, you can power up maybe about if you're on level 1 of your main character, you gain like 3 stages at that point.
How does powering up work? Are you discarding cards? What is it? How does that happen?
So every character has a bunch of different tiny boxes. There's like 10 of them in a column most
Oh,
times, or
okay.
11 if you count the 0 at the bottom. If you were playing back then, you had these plastic peripherals to help you keep track of this, and one of them is
Oh, like a little clip on the side.
yeah. There's like it's called the Z, like the Z Scouter or whatever it is.
Yeah, the little headsets from the show. You
Yeah,
put.
yeah.
Oh, okay. That's actually brilliant.
And as you take damage, you slide it down and show
Hmm.
which one's active.
Where do you start?
You start the game at 5 power stages above 0, but you
Oh,
can go up
okay.
to 10 power stages for
Ah,
most.
okay, okay. All right. So how do I actually power up though? What makes me power up?
Oh, your power up rating is printed on the card. Yeah. It would say the number 2 is on the card, and you would go
Oh,
and during the power up step of the turn, you would look at that number 2 and then you gain 2 stages.
oh, okay. So different
Yeah.
characters can power up more easily than other characters.
Yeah. Except
Oh.
if you declared a Tokuiwaza, you gain 1 extra stage, which 90,
Yeah.
5% of decks would gain that extra stage. So if
That
you
is funny. Yeah. As long as you're not playing an Eldrazi deck, you start with one extra life.
yeah,
What a weird.
sort of, yeah.
All right, so I'm powering up a couple every turn. Some characters can power up very quickly, some can't, and that balances out on some other ways, maybe how good their ability is or whatever.
Yeah.
Are you
And
personally, are you trying to play a character that can power up quickly, or you're ready to take it slow?
I think my favorite style sort of feels like Burn, where
Hmm.
it's less interactive
Oh, okay.
of what they're playing. I play Anger, which also is red.
Hmm.
So yeah, I like play a Piccolo Anger deck, and
Okay.
so I just try to play cards that gain me as much anger as possible. and I
Mm.
level up. When you level up, there's actually separate cards for each level. So I have a 5 Piccolo cards in a stack.
Wait, what?
And oh yeah,
Okay, okay.
this is one of the
All right.
mechanics of the game.
Mm.
Leveling up.
Wow, we're
Yeah.
learning more and more. We're going deeper.
Oh yeah.
So, like, you start as, like, level 1, and then there are different versions of the same character. There's Piccolo chilling out, Piccolo notices a battle seer, Piccolo punching a
Yeah.
guy.
Oh, he took off his weights. Oh no. And then, oh,
Yeah.
Piccolo. He's been
Oh.
fused with Kami.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, so what I was trying to understand is, like, if there are, like, 5 if there are 10 levels, you start at 5 and some people can power up to 5. It seemed crazy that that was, like, that you got that much power that quickly, I guess.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is, like, you actually not only have to power up, you also have to, like, eh, grow as a person mid-game and gain new abilities and
Right. Oh, yeah, sorta like evolving in Pokemon. Yeah, yeah,
Ah,
yeah. You can choose to I guess it is Pokemon could be a good comparison because there are decks that don't bother with evolving at all.
ah,
Um, and so, like in this game, there are many decks that stay on level 1 and don't bother with the anger mechanic.
mm,
And then other decks, they do like to use the anger mechanic to go a little stronger. Then we
mm,
get to their level 2 maybe or 3. Whereas you could also use that same mechanic if you go all the way to the highest level,
mhm.
you just win the game. It's called the most powerful personality victory. That's one way.
Hell yeah. What?
Yeah. So you don't even have to do any damage. You don't have to have their life deck to
I'd
0.
just be the absolute coolest person that's ever lived, and then the game's
Yeah,
over.
you just angered up so much that, you know what, they all just kinda throw in the towel, your opponents, you know, there's like, "You win."
This is how Mr. Satan wins a game. He can't actually fight. He just,
Yeah,
has enough, game face that, everyone else just assumes that he's powerful.
yeah. Gain 100 anger, Hercule wins. Yeah.
Alright, so anger is the thing that allows you to, like, switch from black-haired Goku to yellow-haired Goku or whatever?
Yeah, that's sorta like the great
Uh,
equivalent of that. There during, Buu Saga, they
yeah,
kinda that it's a great, representation of that because you have a level 5 Super Saiyan 3 Goku, which is the highest level you
okay,
can go to, 5.
yeah.
But along the way, you can go to Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2 and
Hmm,
all that. Just like in Boo when he's telling Boo like, "This is what a Super Saiyan is. This is what Super Saiyan 2 is." Yeah, yeah. So they just use
yeah.
that moment for like to make
Mm.
screenshots from that to make the Goku personality cards during Boo Saga.
Do you what we have transforming cards in Magic, like double face cards, but this doesn't totally feel like that because, like, transforming cards, I'm typically transforming back and forth, or if a creature dies and comes back, it goes back to its friend side. This is like a more permanent change. If I go to, I go from level 1 to level 3 to 2 to 3, do I stay at I can't go below 3 for the rest of the battle?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like the blue style I mentioned that is great at lowering
Yeah.
anger. If you are at like you got to level 3, you're at 0 anger now because you already gained the 5 anger from last level that needed to
Mhm.
get to the next level. You go back down to 0 anger. It's not like your opponent could say lose an anger and now you're back down to
Oh,
level
okay.
2 at
Yeah.
4 anger. Yeah, you
That's
stay. Once you get there, you stay. Yeah.
'Cause that feels like something that would be kind of interesting if, like, in the middle of a commander game, your commander gains an extra ability or gains a background or is cooler as a creature, is more fun to play with, but that state didn't exist the first time you cast it on turn 4.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yep. I
and
guess
having
experience can be used again in that.
Yeah,
If you have 5 experience, they are this, but I
that's
guess that's a
true.
lot of
Yeah,
text to fit if you don't do this, the same
yeah.
style.
Yeah, if you've got, like, just a number scaling ability, 'cause, what it sounds like is that these different stages actually have different abilities on them, is that correct?
That's true, yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's not just like, Gohan level 1 has punches that deal 4 damage and Gohan level 2 has punches that deal 5 damage. Gohan level 2 can throw 2 punches a turn. I'm making this up, but, like, they can do something
Yeah.
different. This was not a twist I saw coming, that there are gonna be 5 copies of every character in your
Yeah.
deck.
So level 5 Only some characters have a level
Oh,
5,
okay, okay.
but most that are main personalities have 4. There are many that only have 3.
Hmm. I guess the thing that I'm sort of thinking through is like, does having multiple versions of this creature solve some problem in Magic? And one of the common problems in Magic that you hear about and people talk about is like a lot of commander designs now are like two pretty significant rules blocks, right? I've got one ability, I've got another ability. And at the beginning of the game, I kind of have to read and grok everybody's like two abilities and why those would matter and all those kinds of things. I guess if it was possible that you only had to care about one of them for the first part of the game, and then at some point in the game, I'm going to announce I'm gaining this ability. I might still want to know that at the beginning.
Yeah.
If you're playing against Raditz and you haven't played against Raditz in forever, are you looking through the stack and trying to get a sense of what their different abilities are, or are the abilities not that important?
Exactly, yeah. That is one of another, like, sort of similar to actually when listening to another design crossover with the, Transformers. So
Yeah.
you have to look at all the Raditz cards at the beginning of the game because you have access to seeing all of them.
Mm,
This might
yeah.
matter also with, like, as new sagas came out, new sets, they would repeat having more personality cards for our favorite characters, Goku and such.
Oh, there's a new Goku card. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's new like Goku levels. So here's Goku levels 1 through 5 again, but their power rating is higher. But what you can do is you can mix and match. You can
Well,
have level 1 from Saiyan Saga, level 2 from Buu Saga, level 3 from Cell Saga, whatever you want to do.
oh, because these are all. That's another funny thing I didn't think about. These are also collectible. So if I want all five Gohans, I have to open enough packs to get what are probably like a rare level 4 Gohan or whatever to finish my stack.
There you go. Yeah, actually, usually that
Huh.
would be the case because every when it's every couple sets, you get a new mastery. It's new
Yeah.
masteries for all the styles. You also get new starter decks that have all the new personalities
Oh,
for that. And usually
okay.
they only go 1 through 3 in the starter deck. And so in the
Yeah.
booster packs, you would have 4 and 5.
Hmm.
Um,
If it weren't for starter decks or whatever, you might open Gohan level 2. It's like, well, I can't play this deck yet because I haven't opened 1 and 3. Like, I need to open more packs, I guess.
exactly. Yeah, you would just have
That's
this
very
card
funny.
that. Yeah.
Wow.
I guess similar to the Dragon Balls too, right? You're like, "Oh, I have Dragon Ball number 4, and I need
Mm.
all 7 to open."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. So I thought we were going to go fast through this like turn thing,
Oh,
but
yeah.
then I had to learn about a stack of five, five characters, and it blew my mind.
Yeah,
So just to get us back on track, start of the turn, draw three cards, then play my non-combats, my Dragon Balls, my battlegrounds, and so on. Then power
yeah.
up. Is power up basically specifically get this much power, get one power, get two power, or are there choices during that phase?
No, no choices. You just like,
Okay.
"Hey, get back, 3 health, 2 health, 4 health," whichever. Yeah.
And then I'm assuming we have a gigantic combat step that's complicated. Is there anything else in a turn?
Yeah, yeah. So after combat, there's the rejuvenation step. It's sorta
Ooh,
like the cleanup step in
okay.
Magic. You have to discard down to 0 or 1 cards in hand. And if you did not declare combat, you put the top card from your discard pile on the bottom of your life deck.
My hand is emptying out every turn, is what you're saying.
Yeah, your hand, you're like, oh, this is okay. I'm not going to go into combat with this, or I'm going to play out maybe a couple allies,
Take a turn off.
and now my hand is 1. I'm not going to go into combat. I could still also just, yeah, I recover 1 life card. Yeah.
That's funny. Is that a problem we want to solve in Magic? Do we want to say like, hey, if you don't attack, you get one life point?
Gain 1 life.
We want games to be just like a little bit longer sometimes. What was the discard 1, 0, or one card? What was that?
You pretty much 99% of the time want to go to 1, but there has been
Oh,
situations I've
okay.
played.
If you have no cards in your hand, then your opponent's attacks deal one less damage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any choice in a game, we can print a card that rewards making the other choice. All right, so we got the shape of that turn, and then maybe now's the time. Maybe we gotta understand what combat is.
All right. So After you power up, you have the choice to declare combat. Once you declare combat, you do the prepare phase, which is just mostly your card effects that say when entering combat.
Mm.
A basic one that might be you draw your personality says when entering combat, draw a card.
Whenever you declare combat, gain some power. Whenever you declare combat, this ally does something.
Yeah,
This Dragon Ball does something.
yeah. If you're the active player, you declare it, you do your part of those, and then when you're done, then the defender, the non-active player, they do their when entering combat stuff too,
Hmm.
and then they will after they're done with that, they will draw 3 cards.
Oh,
So
huh.
remember when you discard down to 0 or 1. So
Yeah,
that's your opponent on. If it's your turn, your opponent either has 0 or 1 when you're taking your turn.
yeah.
So if you've got like 3 juicy like attack and block stuff in your hand, and you're entering and you draw a card, so you got 4 now. So that's why they draw 3. They draw 3 random. For them, they're hoping that they draw relevant cards for combat at that moment, but they could just draw like, oh, I drew a battleground and an
Mm.
ally in my hand. Won't be useful this combat. I guess I'm going to take a lot of damage.
Are they going to discard those defensive cards at the end of your turn?
Yeah, both players discard down. Yeah.
So you're seeing like 6 cards a turn, like a turn cycle, I guess.
Yeah, assuming that they also just declare combat the turn after you.
Wow. Okay, so you are ripping through a lot of cards. I guess if you're looking for specific cards as a defender, like, hey, you got a block or two, that's nice. But oh, I also ripped my Dragon Ball that I need. I'm going to hold on to that at the end of my defense. And
Yeah.
then going into my turn, I'm going to get 3 more cards or whatever and have that card that I found. So
Yeah.
I'm ripping through a lot of cards. Interesting.
I think that's a strength when you hold on to the one. It is kind of quirky,
Yeah.
but if the game is so combat oriented and that you can be dead in the water when you draw non-combat relevant stuff as a defender, you can kind of figure out a certain percentage of your deck. You're kind of safe to play these non-combat related
Yeah.
cards because you can always keep the one. So like on most turns, you are going to be still making use of that card anyway. You don't just
Hmm.
randomly get milled. It is still a risk though as well if yeah, you might have an increased percentage of non-related cards for combat, but at
Yeah.
least you still get to hold on to it and use it the next turn.
And you did that to yourself. You made the deck.
Yeah, it was your choice. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's pretty fun, I think. You have a somewhat larger deck, but you're ripping through a lot of cards. You don't get to hold on to large numbers of cards, so you don't like have to, look at a hand of this is sometimes in EDH or whatever. You have this problem of like, I've got 7 cards in hand and I can cast any one of them. It's like, oh man, I have to really think hard right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can instead have a trickle of cards and you can only hold on to a couple, that might actually be pretty enjoyable. I guess the start of the game is trickier in Magic because you need a couple lands to get going. So it's hard to
Yeah.
just say, hey, maximum hand size is 4. But yeah, having a little more card flow could allow for cards to be designed differently and maybe to feel more interactive.
Yeah, the mana cost thing is sort of what is the balancing out of like how many options do I have on turn one right now for
Yeah,
Magic?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, so in exchange for no mana cost in Dragon Ball, you have smaller hand size.
Yeah, yeah. How often are people declaring combat? Is it like most turns, half of turns, only when they have the perfect
I would
attack?
say average might be every other turn.
That's a nice flow. Yeah, yeah.
Some decks try to enter every turn. Some never want to declare combat because they're just doing their thing, doing Dragon Balls.
Yeah, going into combat also means your opponent gets to do some looting, basically.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
funny cost of going into combat. You don't want to do like a really mediocre combat. Like if I just have one crappy punch, maybe I don't want to go into combat because the opponent gets to draw 3 cards and they had 1 card already probably.
exactly. Yeah,
So they have a decent chance of blocking. So if I don't think I have a good offense that turn, I'm just going to skip combat entirely.
yeah. So we've declared combat. My
Mhm.
opponent and I have both done our when entering combat effects. My defender has drawn 3 cards, and now the action is happening. So the active player will do their first, what is called the attacker's attacks phase.
All right.
You can perform an attack, mostly is what you're going to be doing. You can
Mm-hmm.
also play one of those cards that don't say physical combat or energy combat. They just do some effect, like Thoughtseize, like Android 18 stare down.
Oh.
You can play that during your attack or attack phase.
Oh, so if you're interacting with your opponent, it's probably during combat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Most attacks have extra effects on them. They're called secondary effects.
Hmm.
A popular secondary effect is, hey, raise your anger one level.
Hmm.
So you're like, hey, I'm gonna put my card out on the table. It says, hey, raise my anger one level, so I'll do that now. And then they might have something called like an if successful effect. So
Hmm.
that one is only happens if your opponent does not block this attack. So we'll just
Hmm.
hold on that sentence for now. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we gained an anger, and then now we get to see this physical attack card I played does +3 power stages of damage. So then now your opponent gets to do their defender defends phase.
Hmm.
So now they get to choose, do I want to block this or not? Now,
Hmm.
maybe they only have one block in their hand. Maybe they don't want to block this one that you're throwing out because they're afraid that maybe your another attack you have has a really powerful if successful effect. So
Hmm.
they'll choose to tank it. Or maybe they'll play it now. So when it blocks, it would usually say something like stops a physical attack, and then maybe some extra stuff like, I guess in blue, it would lower your anger, lower your opponent's
Hmm.
anger one, or do something else. Gain a couple power stages.
Block an attack and shuffle some cards from your graveyard back into your library. Block an
Yep.
attack and
Yeah, just extra stuff.
destroy a location.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, you block it, and then both players put their cards in the usually in a discard pile. Some actually also often in the remove from the game pile because if it's a powerful effect, you don't.
Hmm.
That's how they balanced it. Sometimes you can't recur it as easily. Um, Yeah, once you're done, once that's done, then you goes over to the opponent. They now have an attacker attacks phase, and then just keeps going back and forth, ping ponging between
Hmm.
doing playing something and then the opponent responding.
Okay. Because you're usually only going to combat if you've got a couple attacks, at least two. Like, if
Yes.
you're going into combat, there's usually going to be a big flurry of blows, which is also reasonably thematic for Dragon Ball. Then I've done some damage or blocked some attacks, or I got some bonuses for getting attacks through. And then combat's kind of over, right?
Yeah, maybe I've played three cards. Like I've entered combat against you, Tim,
Yeah.
and I started out by throwing a physical attack, and then you didn't block it, and then you hit me, and then I did an energy attack, and then you passed, and then I went to me, and I was like, actually, yeah, I'm passing too. I don't have anything anymore. I already
All
did a
right.
couple things that I wanted to do, and you passed, I passed, so now combat's over.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then we just
Yeah,
start over. All right. I feel like I have a decent idea. Yeah. So maybe what we'll wrap up with is just like reading a bunch of cards to get an idea of some of the specific effects. Could be different card types just to start to get an idea of different numbers or different special abilities that cards have, anything like that.
sure. Yeah, yeah. Here's an example of a personality card. So level one, Gohan the champion. He has 10 power stages above zero.
Hmm.
The numbers on them, the highest power stage says 1,200,000.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah. So these are not just like a number from 1 to 10. There's also like power level. A human being is like 5.
Yeah, it matters mechanically actually
Yeah.
when you're calculating physical damage.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Okay. Interesting. Okay.
you convert this through using a what's called a physical attack table.
Just when I thought we had it under control, you give me the physical attack table. Is that what it
I'm
was
throwing
called?
another mechanic at you, yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. So I don't just have like a 1 to 10, how powerful. I start at 5, I can go up or down.
Because yeah, you need to know exactly what that number is, and not just
Oh, okay. And that might be a reason why you want to go to level 4, because level four's power levels are like 4 million. And then
yeah.
I got to have an advantage over someone who stayed at level 1.
Yep.
All right. All right. So another tangent aside, but give me some more go on here.
Gohan has a power on it. When defending in combat, you may draw a card.
Oh.
So instead of just like you only draw 3, I also have a 4th card I could draw.
Yeah. Everything that says end draw a card in Magic is like kind of naturally good. Like it's a
Yeah.
huge amount of stuff to be gaining. But in this game, drawing an extra card while defending isn't like as much as a card is in Magic. If you had a creature, hey, every time you're attacked, draw a card. Whew, that would be pretty nice.
Yeah, compared to across turns, it is a lower impact than Magic,
Yeah.
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 But
Yeah.
when tracking this against your opponents, how much they see, that this could be a big difference
Mm.
because of the freeness of a potential attacker. Yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
depends on your deck, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
It also has a power up rating of 1. So when you're in the power up step of your turn, before you declare combat,
Mhm.
you go up one of these power stages. The level 2 depicts Gohan when he's turned Super Saiyan and he's in his Saiyan battle gear, training in the hyperbolic time chamber. This one's called Gohan the Swift. You can see that the power level, his power rating is now higher at the top end. Instead of 1,200,000 at level 1, it's 2,200,000.
Mm.
So you're as you go up in this power rating, when you look at that table, you may be doing even more damage with your physical attacks.
Hmm.
Its power here, it says when entering combat, search your life deck for a physical combat or energy combat card, show it to your opponent, and place it in your hand. It's a tutor.
Oh,
Just like you could just tutor for any like physical or energy combat. That's great.
which feels like especially relevant going into combat because what we're looking for in combat is to have enough attacks to beat like the 1 to 2 blocks that my opponent drew.
Yeah. Or maybe I've built a deck that likes to tutor specific combo tools, and I get that.
Wow. That's just at level 2. We have 3. Wow. Yeah. That's
By happenstance, this one actually is one of the strongest personalities in the game.
oh,
This
okay.
level 2.
I hope so. It seems like a very powerful thing, yeah.
Yeah. This next level 3 one pretty much never gets played, but it is
Oh.
part of the same Cell Saga era here. We got Gohan the Mighty, who's in the starter deck. So this one is 3,800,000. So we've gone from 2,200,000 to 3,800,000 at the top end, and has a the power rating has been going 1, then 2 at level 2, 3 at level 3 here.
Mhm.
So yeah, it has a power of, this is kind of like an activated ability. It says physical attack doing +7 power stages of damage.
Huh.
So now you still have a combat relevant thing, but you can't control what you're tutoring for. But it is doing a lot of like most personalities of 10 stages. It's assuring you're going to do at least 7 stages gone.
Hmm.
Because once you get down to 0 stages, whenever if you did a physical attack doing +7 and they're at 0, they're going to do at least 7 life cards of damage,
Mm.
and on top of what your physical attack table says.
Yeah. All right, yeah. It sounds like a guaranteed just heavy hitting but simple attack.
Yeah.
Why don't we get like I don't know if we have to read through like a whole progression of Cell or Piccolo or whatever, but why don't we at least get a couple more abilities that might appear? What stage they are and then what the ability is, if there are some other ones.
All right, we got Cell Perfect. It's level 3. So Cell is a villain personality, and you could tell right away because it's a red. It's like a red, I guess, sort of like Star Wars.
It looks more evil. Okay, cool.
Star Wars has the red signifier.
Yeah,
Yeah, so this is a red one. The hero ones are like kind of bluish, maybe kind of light or
sure.
white or whatever. Yeah.
I would say there's an extreme amount of graphic design happening in the cards that I saw before this episode. The cards look very different. They have like kind of over the top graphic design to them. Yeah.
Yeah. So this cell can do like an attack that does damage, but is modified by if there's Android 17 or Android 18 in play. So
Hmm.
the cell perfect might want to encourage you to play those 17 and 18 as allies in your deck.
Cell absorbs the androids. They're like androids, but they're like partially biological. Is that right? And then Cell absorbs their power, and then like that's what puts them over the top towards the end to try to defeat the good guys.
Yeah, yeah. There's like different categories of androids, and
Okay.
yeah, Cell is of like a bio android, whereas 17 and 18 are like were augmented humans.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
the stages seem to be like roughly correlating with the amount of power you get at the start of combat. If you want to have like 3 or 4 power stages every combat, you might have to level up your guy a little bit to get that.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you start getting freer and better attacks each combat. In addition to getting
Yeah.
more power, and then your comparison on this power attack table also improves. All
Yeah,
right,
depending on
cool.
your personality, yeah, your physical attacks do more damage. You could take more damage from physical attacks. Yeah, pretty much.
All right, let's get a couple attacks, couple masteries, that kind of stuff.
We got the Mechian style mastery from the Cell Saga.
Okay.
It depicts Cell on it, which was kind of a cool thing because usually
Mm,
Namekian style masteries just have Piccolo to use.
yeah. But this is the guy who has absorbed the powers of multiple different species. Yeah.
He's got Piccolo DNA in him, yeah. This mastery says when entering combat, shuffle the top card from your discard pile into your life deck. If that card is a Namekian style card, draw a card.
So every turn, gain a life. Also, get the top card of your graveyard, which you might be able to rig. And then if it's a Namekian style card, so if you're just going deep on that kind of card, then draw a
Yeah.
card. So draw an extra card and gain a life. Yeah, okay.
All right. Let's read off a drill.
Okay.
So we got Orange Aura drill. It's got Vegeta looking Super Saiyan. It's a non-combat, of course. All drills are non-combats. It says all of your energy attacks do +1 life card of damage. If you declared a Tokuiwaza, all of your energy attacks do +2 life cards of damage instead.
So it's just like here's a baseline drill, makes all your stuff do more damage.
If you did not declare it, you could still play this for your Rainbow-y deck,
Hmm.
but you would only do +1 life card at most.
Hmm. Hmm, hmm.
We have a Saiyan Headshot. This has a mechanic that kind of gets into a little bit with the Sensei decks.
Okay, the Sensei deck were the sideboards.
Yes, the
Yeah.
sideboards. So it's a physical combat. It says Sensei deck only.
Oh.
Yeah,
All
it always has to start in your Sensei deck.
right.
And also, to be in your side deck, it has to say either Sensei deck only or Sensei deck.
Oh, you can't just put anything in there.
Yeah, which is a real downer for being able to kind of have a higher degree of customization.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah. It's like a better than normal attack because it does, let's see, physical attack doing +3 life cards of damage. Now that doesn't sound too impressive so far. Damage from this attack cannot be prevented.
Hmm.
Now preventing is a mechanically relevant term. And it says draw a card and raise your anger 1 level. So raise your anger 1, that's normal, but drawing a
Hmm.
card that's printed on the attack itself without any conditions is
Yeah.
huge in this
Yeah.
game.
That might be a whole extra attack that you're going to get in. You could chain several of these in a row and it'd be really satisfying. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It also has been errated to have a limit
Oh.
1 on it. Yeah, there's
Oh
a
no.
restricted list on it. Yeah.
Oh, like you can only put one in your sideboard.
Yeah, only one in your sideboard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh. There is something kind of fun of like these cards are so good that I'm just willing to delete a random chunk of my deck. Like that. I don't know. I guess maybe if they're so good that you're always doing it, that's not good. That's like repetitive gameplay. But it is cool that like a different way for black to give up, something in order to achieve strength. I'm giving up life to draw more cards. I'm giving up my creatures to draw more cards. I'm giving up the specific content. Like I'm changing the
Yeah.
contents of my deck in a way I don't totally understand in order to get more power.
Yeah. I would agree that with you. This Saiyan headshot I just read has no conditional like good usage. It's just always good, and
Hmm.
maybe that's part of why it's good that it's restricted to 1.
Hmm. Okay.
Um, yeah, the black style card I mentioned uh, is very good only because most people play non-combat cards, and it's an attack that also is removal for those non-combat cards.
Maybe another attack or two. Do you have any cool attacks
Yeah,
we can read?
so we got blue stance. This features Berter, the Ginyu Force in the art. He's doing his pose. It's an energy combat card. It says energy attack doing 5 life cards of damage. Raise your anger 2 levels and lower your opponent's anger 1 level.
Oh, blue stance. Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so blue doesn't have a lot of like gaining anger capabilities, so this is really good for doing that. But otherwise, yeah. So it's just kind of better than average energy attack damage there.
Hmm.
Maybe a little less by the end. Well, by the time this was released, it was strong, but by Kid Buu Saga by the end, maybe 5 is a little shy here for
Hmm.
the effect you get. But Raising Anger 2 is like the creme de la creme for anger
Yeah.
decks.
Oh, okay.
A lot of red anger decks look to play as many gain anger 2 cards on physical attacks because those cost nothing. If you tie them towards your energy attacks as a strategy, sometimes you might not be able to use your energy attack because someone
Hmm.
else just pulverized your stages down to 0.
Hmm.
Very rare you'll see you gain anger 3.
Hmm. Okay.
As a
Okay.
reminder, you need 5 anger to get to the next level.
Oh, I think I was combining anger and power stages.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes a little more sense with like energy attacks spend your power stages,
Yes.
but spending
Uh,
power stages doesn't prevent you from leveling up.
yeah.
So it's like even if you want to level up, it's okay to still use energy attacks. Okay, okay.
Performing a lot of energy might tire you out. Vegeta does that a lot, right? He keeps firing a ton of energy blasts until he's gasping and he's like, "Oh, I did it." So that would
Yeah.
be the equivalent of going all your power stages all the way down.
Your power stages are depleted, but you can still get more and more angry and be, accelerating your game plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Example of a Dragon Ball. Here's a little thing about Dragon Balls is that there are different sets of Dragon Balls you can choose.
Yeah, I know this from the series, but like the phenomenon of the Dragon Ball is like almost a religious tradition passed between cultures, like as they travel between planets and stuff. So different people have created sets of Dragon Balls. At first, it just seems like there are 7 of these, and there's one dragon who made them. But eventually, you learn that like, hey, this whole other planet has different Dragon Balls, and they're gigantic.
Yeah. Yeah. So you cannot mix and match the Dragon Balls from different sets. So you have to choose your set. So you can choose the Dende
Oh,
Dragon Ball set. So Dende Dragon Ball 2 says here when you play it or when you capture it, raise your main personality to its highest power stage.
oh,
One, I guess, shtick gimmick of the Dende Dragon Balls of this set during Cell Saga is that every single one of them raises your power stages to the full. So this is good for when you've been beaten down. You're like, all right, I need to regain some health, go back
interesting.
up to full to 10. And it also has this other effect, which you may shuffle a Dragon Ball and play back into the owner's life deck.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can keep if you want to, if you want to recycle your effects, or if you want to take away a Dragon Ball that you don't want your opponent to capture, you can do that. Yeah.
Hmm. Can it flush itself? Can it you do it to itself?
Oh
Oh,
boy.
rules question, judge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would have to look at the
Fair enough.
comprehensive rules document.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yep.
This
It's
feels like very generous in terms of how much stuff you're getting.
exactly, yeah. So
Hmm.
this is sort of the thing about like they have higher quality effects on the card on the Dragon Ball, but the cost is that you may lose it
They're
and give
risky. Yeah.
your opponent captures it, they go back up, they go up. Yeah,
I think
yeah,
like this kind of thing, I would say in Magic, this is good as long as there are effects that progress the game. And I would say that like filling up your power stage feels like something that is more likely to advance the game than it is to slow the game down. Is that fair?
yeah. Especially if you're just like, hey, I'm an energy deck. I need the power stages to be available to me. This could be a way to make sure that you're still able to spend those stages.
Yeah. If we have this like hot potato going between players, Monarch in Magic is like a cool mechanic, but it kind of makes games slower, if that makes sense, because you're drawing cards at like a weird time, and like you have to think harder about those extra cards. Those extra cards aren't like directly leading to the game speeding up. It makes people attack each other, which is pretty good. But and so it, like me and Monarch are cool. I'm fine with Monarch. But
Yeah,
if there are effects that hot potato, but also like make the game end faster, that's maybe where you want to be. Here's a new
yeah,
object on the table we all have to care about. We all have to care about something that slows the game down. Let's make an effect that also counterbalances that by making the game a little faster as well.
Yeah, if you have the tyrant mechanic or something just to make it up every time
Yeah.
you can do a damage to somebody as long as you
Yeah.
control it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Although I guess inviting people to attack you for 1 damage, maybe that's why they didn't. But anyway, yeah.
All right. Why don't we get
Yeah.
like one or two more cards? You pulled out a bunch of cards, but we'll just put those in the show notes if people want to just peruse some more cards.
All right. Here is probably one of the most played cards in the game. Time is a Warrior's Tool. It's a combat card. It says stops all attacks from an opponent this combat. Limit 1 per deck.
Whoa. When they
Yeah.
print limit 1 per deck on it, they knew it was strong.
Yeah. You only need this card to stop everything your opponent could throw at you. So it's really nice for, let's say that Broly example does have like 5 attacks to throw at you. Well, you invalidated their entire combat this turn with this thing. Now, there are a couple ways to work around this. Thankfully, one of the most popular ways is there is like one counter spell in the game, sort of, that's in freestyle, and that's Trunks Energy Sphere. And that one is a combat. It says stop the effects of any combat card, use when needed. So it's sort of like an interruption when someone plays a combat card. Time as a Warrior's Tool is a combat card. So they're like, oh, I'll play Time as a Warrior's Tool against your attack, and then you might have as Broly like, oh, Trunks Energy Sphere. Nope, that stops that.
I love use when needed. That is
Yeah.
some like we don't feel like rewriting the tool book, the rule book. You know how this is supposed to work, we hope.
Yeah.
God bless.
I like Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It makes me want to put it in my wallet, use when I need it, just whenever my day to day.
All right, cool. Alrighty, yeah. I feel like I have just survived 25 episodes of battling Frieza. And yeah, thanks for breaking down this game. I don't know how I could have gotten into playing this game otherwise, so I feel like this design crossover is my like blast of this game as if I had played it. And now when someone asks about this game, it's like, yeah, I've heard of that. And maybe the listeners can come away with that too. They know of this game. Whenever you're talking with Brad now and you want to convey something, you've got that shared language with them.
Yeah, thanks for allowing me the space to share about this really dead game. This was the first Dragon Ball card game of like, I think about 7 that have been released by now.
All right, yeah.
I haven't touched any of the ones that are active right now, but I
Mm,
have played a few other ones. But yeah,
yeah,
this
yeah.
first one, nothing quite like this first one. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, just by listening to this episode, like listeners are now in the top 1,000 people on the planet of knowing about this game.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's about it for the main topic. Always want to plug some of the stuff happening in our community because that's a big part of Beacon of Creation. Giving us your designs based on all the cool stuff you heard about in this episode. Please throw those in the new episode channel. But we also have our monthly design challenge. You'll have just a couple more days to get into our May BC design challenge, which is just design an elder, a creature with the elder type. These are usually like big dragons or dinosaurs or stuff, but maybe it's just like a really old, unusual creature. Do you have a favorite elder creature?
Oh yeah, Guru, the Elder of On Namek. No.
Oh, okay. All right, we got a Dragon Ball crossover. For bonus points, got a Julia special here, which is ABCs. Use every letter of the alphabet somewhere on the card. I think Juliet and James were talking in the Discord. How could you do that and also use as few letters as you can? This is to them a minimal challenge. How do I feel elder? Use every letter of the alphabet.
Yeah. If you want to get Q and Z in there, just say if you declare Tokuwaza.
Oh, okay. And then DEF, give the creature defensive keyword, reach defender, indestructible vigilance ward. That's due May 30th. And that's it for the podcast for the week. Hop on the Discord. That's what action is. That's where you could talk to me, Bradley, anyone else. And yeah, thanks for promising to give me this episode and then bringing through this like crazy deep dive into a 25-year-old dead card game.
Like Goku and Piccolo, we just went through and defeated Raditz together on this episode.
I now have to make my way across the Snake Way to back from death.
Yeah, design crossover to the next the next game.
The next Dragon Ball game that you get into, you can come on and explain.
All
Anything else you want to tell people about?
Now you can just find me on actually appropriately, my blue sky is at special
Mm,
beam cannon
mm.
dot bsky dot social.
Is there a special beam cannon card? Does that exist? It must, right?
Yes. Yes, there
Okay.
is. It's okay. But yeah.
Not as special as your Blue Sky account. If you need to find me, I'm also on Blue Sky, Tim F. Riley, and then in the Discord. But most of all, thanks everybody for listening.